Welcome back to Inside the Creative Mind, the soft space where wild thoughts grow gardens and messy minds become treasure maps. Today we're entering one of the most mysterious sacred spaces in the world, the creative process. It's that foggy road between ideas and execution, the place where a whisper becomes a sketch and then it becomes a sound and becomes a thing. And to help us walk this beautiful, unpredictable path, I am joined by a fellow dreamer, builder, and magician of imagination. His name is Mario, a creator of many shapes, magician, DJ, artistic communicator, inventor of clever things, and meaningful experiences. You may have seen him creating amazing inventions on the Netflix show Baking Impossible, or maybe you danced to one of his sounds journeys. He's a product marketer by profession and a multi-dimensional artist by soul. Today, he invites us into his process, so let's step inside. Before we wander deeper into today's creative maze, this space is gently powered by Yoko Art, a creative studio where imagination turns into form, where ideas become objects, and the unseen gets to speak. From custom art toys to poetic stories, from 3D dreams to laser-cut realities, Yoko is not just a brand. It's the world where creativity wears its truest colors. We build beauty from your ideas and give shape to the parts of your mind only you could see. You can visit us on Instagram, where we live under soft and rusty pinks, at Yoko_art. Dream with us, create with us, because everything starts inside the creative mind. Hi, Mario. I know you live and create in so many different lanes at once. And I've always admired how you just don't stick to one box. So I'm very honored that you're here with us today. Let's begin where all creativity begins, in the mind. If your mind was a room, how would you describe it?
That's a great question. First off, thanks for inviting me. If my mind was a room, it would look very eclectic, a mix of everything and nothing makes sense, and it's just chaotic and fun. I would say it's colorful and there are different shapes and forms, and you can see pretty much anything you can imagine in terms of art, mediums, canvases, colors, techniques. It's a jam.
I love that. I love it. Would it look like a workshop? Would it look like a recording studio? Would it look like a cozy lab? How would that? If
Not
you had to
cozy,
pick.
not cozy at all. Definitely would look like a messy lab where there's like stains and paint spots everywhere, and there's glue, and it may be sticky, and you need to walk through debris, and it's just, fun, a fun
I see
mess.
it. I see it.
Yeah.
That's exactly how my desk looks right now. So where does the creativity start? Like the creative process starts for you. How does that usually looks like? Is it an idea? Is a need? Is a problem? Is a spark? What does that usually look to you?
It starts with a dream, and when I say a dream, what I mean is most of them are childhood dreams. I'm 40 years old, soon to be 41 now, and I feel that I'm surrounded by the things that I've always wanted to have since I was a little kid. I've always wanted to create. I always wanted to have a board game room. I've always wanted to have a home theater, a laboratory. It's just like childhood dreams, and maybe TV series and cartoons like Hey Arnold from Nickelodeon. I don't know if you can remember that his room was
Yeah,
the coolest. And I was like, oh my God, I want a room like his. It's just been a crazy journey of being exposed to the right things, I guess, and the desire to accomplish and be as creative as the people that I've looked up upon.
you know that I feel that the successful creative is that's what I feel like the successful creative is. It's not about money, it's not about fame. I think it's like the feel of like I'm playing my childhood dream every single day of my life. It's like I feel like I'm in that dream. And I think that for me, that is what success looks like in a creative. I mean, to me, what do you think
I,
about that?
I think that for me the definition of being creative is the having the power to surprise yourself. If you're creating for other people, you're not being necessarily true to yourself. But if you wanna do something, if you desire something, you wanna make something that you love, you are creating emotions for yourself. You are creating happiness. You are creating awe and amusement. And I think that that can't necessarily be pure if you're thinking about, oh, I'm gonna make this so I get this amount of views or this amount of people telling me how cool I am. I think that it should come from the inside out.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think that whoever like, and I'm not gonna say the customer, I think the creative word doesn't have a customer as a word. But whoever aligns to that inner, you know, all of that that you're bringing up, it will show up even when it's not a mass of people. You know what I mean? Sometimes it would be just one person that will relate to you in a way that it will make a difference for what you're doing.
If we are talking about how you can monetize your creations, I think that it comes from the outside in, meaning that people will relate to you and the things that
Mhm.
you do. They're gonna
Mhm.
love not only the product, but the journey, like how you made something, how you came up with the idea, the roadblocks that you hit, how you went through those roadblocks. How did you find out creative ways to solve the problems that you had in front of you? And ultimately how you succeeded and conquered the opportunity or the challenges that you had in front in order to achieve the desired outcome.
Do you think monetization is that a word? Monetization is should be a goal in the creative world. I know we've had we've had conversations, but like honestly, do you think that should be the goal to
It should not.
monetize?
It should not be the goal for the creative, but if you want to do business, you want to keep a focus on revenue and costs and how to be effective and efficient with the resources that you have. But I don't think it should be a must. If anything, it's for the lack of a better term, it's like falling into prostitution with what you do just in order to please other people for money, if that
I
makes any sense.
yeah. It's a hard line to cross. It's like you want to be truth to the creative world, to your creative world, but at the same time, you have to kind of have a balance because if you want to leave from it, then you have to monetize eventually, right?
A
I
hundred
mean, it has to
percent.
be the goal eventually.
100%. I feel sometimes, oftentimes, I am doing stuff I don't like in order to, make a living. In the times that I'm making stuff that I really like, I have no money. And many artists don't thrive economically necessarily, but they're like super happy because they are fulfilled in other ways. And I believe that that's fantastic. But once again, if you have family and people that depend on you, you got to focus on what brings the bread to the table.
Yeah, and at the end in this world, like we are measured by how much we make. So it has to be part of
Unfortunately,
the
yes.
goal. Yeah,
Yeah, yes, it's unfortunate, but yes, we live in a world where like your net worth is what defines you, your value, and not
Mhm.
your inherent value as a human.
Yeah.
And if we would be cataloged by our aptitudes and like how good we are at doing certain things, it would be a completely different story. We
Yeah.
could focus more on what we're good. We could focus and nurture more what skills we have instead of doing things we don't like just to make money.
I agree. And I think as creators, I think that is one of the things that we can bring to the world when we do things from inside of us, from our soul, from the and we show the world that, this is rewarding too, even if it's not necessarily all the time rewarding in the, money wise.
Yeah,
If more people could leave the joy of I'm not meaning creating as art only. I mean, it's everything. A creator can be so many things, even related to money and numbers. But if we could
100%.
show, yeah, if we could show the world how rewarding it is to create from your soul, maybe things could change eventually and we wouldn't be measured as things and people as much for, how much they make or for
I
their bank
agree with
account.
you. And another of the intangible values of being a creative person is like, I'm sure you've experienced this, but creating something is therapeutical. Like if you
Mhm.
are going through an issue, for example, I had a bad year like a few years ago, and I decided to paint miniatures, and that would give me so much peace. And
Mhm.
I didn't have many friends at the time, and I would just go to a restaurant, like ask for like my favorite beverage or like my favorite dessert, and I would just like sit and paint there for like 3, 4 hours, and I would meditate while painting. And it's a fantastic gift someone can give to themselves for personal growth. It's like time with you and your mind, and everything else doesn't matter.
Yes, this is something that I try to express all the time, but I don't think everybody's ready to listen to that. Not everybody can understand it, how amazing it can be to create from, again, just not to create to duplicate something or to make money, but like when you really do things because you enjoy it, it does so good to yourself. Like I've gone through so many things, and I creative is what have gotten me through it. You know, is it's for me is better than therapy, to be honest.
100%.
Yeah.
Because it's you with your own questions. You will find your own answers with time, and either in solitude or in community. You still are spending time with yourself, within yourself, when you're expressing your feelings, thoughts, and problems through art.
Yeah, completely. I agree completely. And when you can have a tangible thing that you created while doing that is magical too. Is it makes a big difference. So you
Yeah.
make so many things, Mario. What medium do you feel the most fluent in? One where your creativity flows like with no resistance, like the most natural one.
It's a great question. I don't think I can say that I have one particular medium. Like if anything, I would say my hands. I know that it's not a medium, it's that tool that connects
It's a
my
tool.
brain yeah, it's a tool that connects my brain to the tangible world. But I would say like anything that I can touch, I can transform. What I mean is like you give me a pen and a paper and I'll draw something. You give me wood, I'll cut it. You give me the right tools and I'll create stuff. My hands are the translator between the language of my mind and the canvas of the world.
I understand you 100% because I feel the same way. I do feel like my hands are magical because it's just like creating things with my hands. It doesn't matter what it is. Like I could just have crumble paper and I can make something with it. And I can't pick from one medium to the other. Maybe I'm not that good on any of them, but
That's my explanation. That's also my explanation, right? It's like, and that's the imposter syndrome, right? Because like for
yeah,
some people, we may be amazing like creators, and for us, it's like, I mean, you always say like even a monkey can do it,
yeah.
just because it's easy to me, right? But it's not easy to everyone. I mean, there's still people that are drawing stick man at 40, so feel special, definitely.
I may not be the best on one thing, but I'm good on everything. That's how I say it because I can do anything. You know, I can work with anything.
Do you remember the saying, "Jack of all trades, master of none"?
No.
So there's like a saying in Spanish, right? Also in English is Jack of all trades, master of none, but still better than the one that does nothing, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I'll get back at you with the same because I completely butcher it, but like better than Jack of all trades, master of none, but better than it's a rhyme. I'll get back at you. But yeah, it's so
Okay.
it's very popular. It's very
Yeah.
popular. I'm like a Chapulín Colorado with sayings. I'm
Ah. No,
terrible, terrible.
I'm gonna look it up and I'm gonna take that as my mantra.
Yeah, it's a good
it
one.
it's the same with languages. Like I may not be the most fluent in any language, but I have more. I can speak more than you, so whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's that kind of funny, crazy thing because like we even get this imposter syndrome when we speak English, and I'm like, oh shit, I have an accent. But like, hey, this is my second, third language. Like some
Yes,
people can barely speak one. So you should feel good about
exactly.
it.
Exactly
Yeah.
was sick. So something that I still struggle to the day, and
Uh-huh.
I'm almost 42. So how do you know when something is done? When a piece is done, when you're done with something
What
and you're like, this is okay, I feel like it's done. I'm not gonna say perfect, done.
I don't think anything that I start, I finish,
Oh
for
my God.
starters. So all my projects, it's not like they're like halfway, but they are never done because they
For
can
you,
always,
right?
yeah, exactly. They can always be perfected. They can always be recrafted, and you will see it with my board game room, for example. I change one thing, and then I paint the wall, and then I change the carpet, and then I add a new piece of furniture, and then I paint a painting. So it mutates constantly. So I it's in a constant flow, state of flow, I would say, if anything. If I need to give a more precise answer when something is kind of done for me, is when it lets me sleep. When I can go to bed and close my eyes and be like, I'm in peace. But sometimes when I
I
have a
like that.
project that I haven't finished, I will go to bed and I will. wake up after a few minutes, not wake up, but just like get up of bed until a few minutes saying like, oh no, I need to go finish this thing. So when I don't have that feeling is because like I'm pretty satisfied with where the project is at the point.
I never thought
Will I
about that.
will I improve it? Yes, for sure. But like it's not an urgent need. Sometimes I
No,
have urgent needs for creation.
yeah, I really like that. I never thought about that, but it makes so much sense. Yeah, when there's some times where you just keep thinking about it, and when you're able to put it aside, maybe that's when it's done. Now, what
Right.
about when it's something that you need to, you have a deadline and something you're making for someone is for a customer. How do you let it go? How do you just say, because I know. How do you just
Yeah.
say it's done?
Is rough. So the first thing that I do is what I've done since I was a little kid in school and high school is like I wait until the very last minute. So if, for example, if I'm gonna do a 3D printing job and I know it's gonna take 24 hours of printing time, I'm gonna wait until I'm 24 hours away from like day D and I'll
I
do
don't
it.
feel that bad anymore, Mario.
Yeah. That's how we work. I think that's how like creative brains operate. It's like how can I put myself in the most amount of stress possible so I can excel
Yes,
at what I do? That's I believe
yes.
that's what gets our blood pumping.
Yes, yes, I agree 100%. Um, Mario, I even took like a full therapy, 30 minutes therapy to work with this. And she just put me in this thing, you have to set this, timeline and do this and do that. I'm like, yeah,
Nah, I
but
have
do
that.
it.
You
No,
don't need you
that
don't need
doesn't work.
therapy. Nah, exactly. It's I believe that to a certain extent we just gotta accept who we are and be happy with it, and then don't be hard on yourself because no one is perfect, and your imperfection is what actually makes you be the person you are, and as creative as you are, and as great as you are.
But at the end, what I was thinking with that is like, we put our bodies in stress when we do these things. I do that same thing. I may have a project and I'm like, okay, so if I'm going to use the same 24 hours. I have the 24 hours. I already calculated how much it takes to print and this and that. And I put a little bit of error, in case something
Hmm.
doesn't work or whatever. And I will wait, even if I have the time. I have the time to start early. I will wait until last minute, and I will
Yeah,
put my body into stress, and I will probably not sleep that night because something broke, the printer
yeah.
broke, or this did. So I was trying to make the process a little smoother,
Hmm.
but it just doesn't work
It
for me.
doesn't do it for you. And I believe that somewhat we are addicted to that feeling of stress and anxiety. We hate it, but we love it. We cannot live without it. We can't live with it. It's just an interesting relationship.
And I think we don't create the same if we take that stress out.
If,
At least,
if we're,
at least
exactly. If we're
me.
relaxed, yeah, if we're relaxed, I think that you gotta put your brain in an alpha state. And if there's any neuroscientists like listening to this podcast, I would love to know what makes us the way we are. Because I truly believe that stress and anxiety puts us at an alpha state that opens up something that makes us being extra creative. Because I do believe that everyone is creative to a certain extent,
Yeah.
but we kind of push the limits and see what we can do under pressure.
Yeah. And that's why I wanted to start this podcast, because I really want to know how a creative mind, which I think everybody has a creative mind, we just some of us use it more than others. And I really wanted to know how a creative mind works and have this conversation with other creative, because I know how mine works, but I'm like, am I an alien? Am I the only one that that works this way? And I want to see how it is inside of other people's mind.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because a friend, I was hanging out with a friend, and she was like, "I wonder if you're on the spectrum." She said, "Because your brain is not normal," and I'm like, "I'm happy about that." Because like my brain hops from one thing to another and over again, and I'm constantly thinking about 100 things at the same time, and one thing triggers something that inspires me to do something different. For example, sometimes I start one project, let's call it Project A, or for example, I was upstairs and I was working on the carpet for the board game room, carpet removal. So I'm removing the carpet, and as I'm removing the carpet, I scratch the wall. So I go and I think like, oh, I should probably patch that scratch. And I ended up patching the wall, painting the wall, changing the floor. putting new decorational pieces, and then I'm like, what was I doing before? Oh yeah, I was ripping off the carpet. And I started three, four projects at the same time because that's another thing that I love to do. I love to do like projects in tandem. I start with one, but I end up doing four or five projects at the same time. So
Yes.
multitasking is real.
Yes, I completely relate again. I work the same way, and if I try to stick to one thing, it will be boring. And
It will be extremely
I will
boring.
never finish that one thing because I will get bored. So I do like to hop from one thing to another. And a lot of times, most of the time, one thing will inspire something on the other project. So it's good to have that, multitasking, because when you're like stuck in one idea, you jump to the other place, and then that will bring you back the idea where you're stuck.
Yes.
It's just hard how to explain how it works, but when you explain it to another mind that works similar, kind of makes more sense.
And I don't know how your house may look like, but I'm sure that I will never be able to be married again. Because I have stuff like all over the house. And I believe that that's one advantage that I have. Like every time I want to create, I have everything at hand. I have materials, scrap. I have like everything you need. So I'm in a constant state of creativity because I have the mediums that I need for that. I could not imagine a life where I don't have a drill or like a saw or like a meter saw and then some two by fours laying around the house, and I have acrylic paints in a tub like next to my main door, and like I have like a bicycle behind me in the middle of the living room for whenever I want to work out. I just accommodate my life and the things around me to the lifestyle and the things that I want to create and the things I want to be. And I don't think that a lot of people do that because of conventions. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you should have a house like this and you should dress like that and you should speak like that. And we tend to put ourselves in a box and we stop being happy because we're trying to make other people happy. And
Yeah,
with
and
art, you gotta make yourself happy first
exactly.
in
And
order to inspire people and inspire them to be happy too.
exactly. And then I think you just nailed it right there on being on a box. People like, or most people think that we need to fit in one box. And as artists or as creatives, we need to get out of the box,
Yeah,
because if
definitely.
we put ourselves in a box, and it doesn't matter which area of our lives that means, let's say, oh, I am from this religion and I like this and I like this, when you put yourself in a box, then you're not able to actually create. Or oh no, I'm an artist and I paint, and I have to stick to this until I make it well. And then you're
Hmm.
putting yourself in a box, and your brain is not able to create freely whatever it comes up at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. And it's kind of funny. Disclaimer: I don't consider myself creative. I think that some people that surround me tend to consider me creative.
You are creative.
I copy. I'm an art thief. I see people doing crazy things and I just mock them and I not mock them. I just like copy what they do and I try to make it a little different on or give it my touch, if
What's
anything.
the description of creative for you? What is a creative person for you?
So for example, like we both do a lot of 3D printing, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
you started 3D designing your own stuff, which is great, but mostly people used to print someone else's art. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, these guys are geniuses, right? Like they can make amazing stuff. Like not in a million years I will be able to do something like that because that's a life you gotta dedicate to that type of art. So that being said, to me, these people are these special people. I just like print their stuff or draw something that I've seen somewhere else. And I mean, I'm good at replicating things and I'm good at putting stuff together, but I still believe that in order to be like that creative person, there's something else that people should have in order to call themselves truly creative people. I think that if you can paint, yes, you're creative. If you can 3D design, you're creative. If you can make your own videos or whatever, I mean, you're creative, but there are different levels of creativity, I guess. And maybe it's just my imposter syndrome speaking for me right now. But like if I'm creative, I think I'm a level one. And there's
I
so many levels over me.
I completely disagree with you, Mario. Mario, I may have a lot of creative people around me, and I may have a lot of people that make like amazing things. Like you're like, wow, how did this person did this? But they know one thing, right?
Hmm.
I think creative is a person that can make something out of nothing. And you are the living definition of that. We were talking about the magical hands and stuff.
Hmm.
So I think if we have to do levels of creatives, I think the level one, which is the lowest that you are putting yourself in, that belongs to those that are like great on one thing. Let's say these people that do this amazing 3D designs that we then print, right? They're
Hmm.
great on that. They know how to do that. They probably know how to do that one thing.
Hmm.
That they are in step one. You're getting higher and higher on the creative ladder when you can do more than one thing in that box. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, multidisciplinary artist, I think they call him,
Yes,
or like a Renaissance type of person, right?
something like that. So
Hmm.
I will see you in the opposite side of where you're seeing yourself. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
I appreciate that. Yeah, I
Completely.
like that. I like that rank.
Yeah,
I
completely.
guess. I mean, yeah, because I often say like I'm good at many things. I'm not fantastic at one or any, but I am versatile. If anything, and versatility is important to me. Because
Yeah.
like if they would put us to compete in one thing, yeah, maybe I would lose. But if they would put us to compete at many things, I would be like I can, I can do some damage on different avenues.
But if you want after I call you back, let's talk about that about the Netflix show that
Okay.
you participated because that's a perfect example right there.
It
A person
is.
can be good on one thing, but like when they put you here, you need to
Get
think
the
about
creative
and
juices going and
everywhere.
under pressure.
Yes,
Absolutely.
that's what a
100%.
creative is. So Mario, how did you land it on that Bacon Impossible in Netflix? How
So
did
it
that
was,
happen?
it happened in the weirdest way. It was 2020. We are in the middle of a pandemic. And like someone reaches on my Instagram DM asking me if I would like to be part of the biggest on-demand. Now, what is Netflix? Streaming platforms in the world.
Yeah.
So I go ahead and I say like, what, Netflix? And the lady said like, well, you said it, not me. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like if that
Yeah.
doesn't sound like a scam, of course,
So
right?
she
Like when
randomly showed up in your DMs like that.
in my DMs, like telling
Oh.
me that if I wanted to be part of like a Netflix show, pretty much, and I was like, yeah, this cannot be true, for sure not. But anyways, like so we started conversations, and it seemed legit, but it was not until I had that Hollywood ticket that I was like, oh, holy crap, I'm going to Hollywood, and that's crazy. And why me, right? Like it's always that imposter syndrome and that question, why me, right? Like why they chose me among 300 million Americans
Yeah,
with
like how did
perfect
they find
English and
me?
and 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 that are actual engineers and scientists and what have you, because they were casting engineers. And I told them, it's like, hey, I did went for engineering school, but I did 4 years of engineering, but I'm not an engineer. I don't work as an engineer. I just do creative stuff and I do it for fun. And they were like, you are exactly the type of person we're looking for.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, am I? Okay, okay. I went along with it, and I guess like sometimes you just gotta let people tell you you're good, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So how did that go? So you went to a location to record. So it wasn't even local.
yeah. So I was in Hollywood, California, like literally in Hollywood, and yeah, it was like a dream. It was a little weird, because like like they had like all the pandemic protocols and everything, and they were like distancing and doing the distancing, and the vans that were taking us from place to place, they were wrapped in plastic,
Oh
and
wow.
it was just odd, but like overall it was a great experience getting out of my comfort zone and getting to create with mediums that I've never worked with, like chocolate and Rice Krispie treats and fondant, and it was madness, but it
I
was
was gonna
fun.
I was gonna ask that next. Are you even a baker?
I mean, I like baking, but I'm not a baker by any means. I never did anything like that before, or decorating cakes, none of that. I really enjoyed it. And and it was a challenge for sure. It was a challenge, but a challenge that I liked. I'm not gonna lie, I was intimidated, I was intimidated by the people that I was surrounded, and because I was like among engineers from MIT, I was among engineers from NASA, and you would find how interesting it was to see how someone with not an engineering degree was able to compete hand to hand with them because of a problem solving type of mind outside of the box thinking, and how that can help
Exactly.
you solve problems in life, you know?
That's why I call a creative. That's exactly what, for me, is the definition of creative. Anything else you can learn. You can
Yeah.
sit down and with a book, you can go to college and learn so many things. But the way your brain, your mind works is many, many, many years. Mostly, I think a lot of us are born with this, right? With
I
this
believe
way
so,
of
yeah.
seeing life differently, like they say. I'm not gonna call it spectrum in the spectrum or whatever. I'm not gonna, that's another box that I don't wanna be in a box.
Yes.
But I think a lot of us are born with, that we can see life differently than most of people. But the mastering that, the
Nurturing. Yeah.
nurturing that mind years over years over years, like you're a little kid and you're nurturing this storytelling in your brain, and you're telling yourself stories to fall asleep, or telling yourself stories to not feel afraid. And then that grows into something different. And then we're here. I'm not going to even say the age because that doesn't really matter, but we're here and we have this many years of experience on creating, and that translates into creating everything and anything. An engineer cannot compete with me. I don't care if and what is that, you learn the book from up and down and you have a degree, you cannot compete with me. I have many more years than you of experience on this.
It was really funny for me to be in a competition where I saw people applying mathematical formulas to cut pieces of wood. And I would just like cut a piece of wood and then eyeball the second cut. And I was
Yes.
very pragmatic, very practical, and I would get the job done. And if you get the chance to see the show Baking Impossible, you'll see that some of my creations were beautiful and
Yes, they
functional.
were.
And there is so much that it was done off camera that unfortunately, like, they don't portray those things because at the end of the day it's TV, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm really proud of everything that I created, and of all the great things that were done, and all the mistakes we made as a team as well, because that's part of growth.
Yeah.
Now, well, you were speaking about how we are in charge of nurturing like these gifts that were given to us at birth. I was trying to backtrack. When was the first time I realized I was a creative person, or I could be cataloged as a creative person? And the
Even if you didn't really know what it
yeah,
was, but uh-huh.
exactly. So I remember first grade. There was Father's Day coming up, and they made us paint on a paper plate something for our parents. So I painted, like, I remember it was like the Peruvian Andes, and there were mountains, and there was like an eagle, or like a condor. Actually, it's a different type of bird. I don't know what the name for the condor is in English, but I'm very similar to an eagle. And in my drawing, like, my drawing skills were way above like a first grader for sure, right? Once again, there's people that until like this day and age, like, we are doing the stickman, and
Hmm.
you can't paint or whatever. But like, I had skills coming from God knows where. My parents were not artists. Like, they were not like art savvy or like very crafty. I think that my mom was like, she would draw some things from time to time, but it was not, I could not say that it was her hobby. Um, but like, I did this drawing for my dad, and I remember that, and he really liked it and was impressed by it. And then another thing that I remember from like my childhood is that I was playing piano and no one taught me how to do it. And so my dad got me a small piano to play, and my mom would like make me play in front of all my family when I was a kid growing up, and it was funny but also embarrassing. We just had no idea how I learned, and they tried to put a teacher on me, and I got bored, and I didn't want to do it, and I didn't want to learn by the book.
Hmm.
I have memories of me drawing in paper my own like dolls, and I would paste them on cardboard to make them thicker so they could last longer. And I would play with paper dolls that had like articulated limbs, so like you could move their arms and legs, and I would just like draw anything. Like there was a Nintendo game called Punch Out, and I remember drawing the Punch Out characters and playing at the boxing ring with them because I didn't want to play the actual Nintendo. I wanted to play with toys. I wanted to play with my imagination, and there was a lot of that growing up. Like I would play with my sister, like the fort, and we would play the ATM. I remember we made an ATM. There was a little bench that we had, and in a piece of a cardboard we drew an ATM, and she would be at the other side of the ATM handing the money through the paper, the little slit, that dispenses the money out. I mean, we had so much fun with both of my siblings growing up. My brother, there was a Japanese series called Shiru Kanase, which means in English, you can do it as well. And there was this Japanese guy with like a mascot, and they would always be making experiments, and my brother started making like little penguins out of toilet paper rolls, and little like race like frogs and things like that, and I think that marked me forever because since that very moment I wanted to create for life. When I was in elementary school, we would have library day 1 day a week, and you know how everywhere in the world, like in America, in Peru, everywhere, like you have a set plan of things you should have read by the age of 16, right? Like a literacy plan or whatever. So every Wednesday we would go to the library to read Gabriel Garcia Marquez, it's Vargas Llosa, etc., those Latin American authors. But I would spend my hour at the experiment section, like experiments, crafts, magic tricks. And that's what was my segue to wanting to become a magician, that along with the experience that I had going to a birthday party and meeting a magician, and I told my dad, this is what I want to be. And my dad said, like, well, I mean, for sure, but don't forget to have a career, because it's really important to have a formal education so you can work and make money, and then with that you can buy your magic tricks and do this as a hobby. And but he did get me a magic book for me to learn those tricks, and they were always very supportive of me pursuing arts. They were cautious because, of course, that's the generation that tells you, "Yeah, you have dreams. Well, dreams are, for dreamers, you should have a career, you should study, you should do the things the way they are supposed to do rather than taking risks." But at the same time, they kind of help me out to be the person that I am today.
And I think that's the smart way. I kind of have the same thing with my parents. They did support me, and then this, you're doing good job, doing great. I love what you're doing, but have a plan B. Always have
Just
the
in
plan B
case,
just in
just
case.
in case, you never
But they
know.
did nurture and encourage the creativity, the imagination that I had to. But can you see? Well, I know you already mentioned it at the beginning, but you can see, Mario, that those things that you said that you used to do as fun when you were a kid are technically the things you're doing now as an adult, and sometimes getting paid a lot of money for doing these little things that feels like playing.
That is absolutely true. I think that definition of success is not how much money you make. Disclaimer, these past couple of years have been rough economically speaking, but I feel the richest I've felt in the last
Exactly.
20 years of my life. I own my
Exactly.
time. I'm
Mhm.
in the best shape of my life. I am healthy, mind and body. I can take care of myself because I have the time to do so. And I manage my schedules however I please. And I sleep whenever I want, and I wake up whenever I want, and I create whenever I want. And I think that's the definition of richness.
And you pick the projects you want to do and the ones you don't want to do.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think that should be the definition of success in
Yeah.
all the careers. I don't think being a slave for the corporate world should be considered success, because let me tell you, that's what they are when they make a lot of money. They're just
Yeah.
slaves of corporate work, and you never know when you're gonna get laid off,
That is true.
and when you're gonna get replaced for doing something that you probably not enjoying that much to do.
Yes, that is 100% truth. Everyone is dispensable, and
Yeah.
no matter how good you are at the job that you do, if you're not working towards your dream, you're working towards someone else's dream.
Exactly. So you might as well be working for yourself and for what you're enjoying right now, you know?
Yes, and it's not gonna be easy. Companies don't become successful from, one day to another. There's a lot of struggle. There's a lot of sacrifice as well. But I think it's totally worth it at the end. In the long run, you see steady growth. Also like, business always goes up and down. But like, I
Mhm.
think that if you look at it at a macro level, you'll see uh tragedy line that tends to go upwards, thankfully.
Yeah,
You just gotta be patient, and it's like, some people buy stocks and they freak out and they sell when they go down or whatever.
exactly.
But like some people, stick with them and then
Mm.
they come back up and your worth
Exactly.
also goes up. So it's a
Exactly.
long time. It's like a long how do you say it? Long run type of game. It's not like a short term type of thing.
And again, at the end, you're working for yourself. You're working for something that fills you up. So you don't, there's no rush on becoming a millionaire when you're already rich inside of you.
Oh yes, a hundred
If it
percent. Of course,
happens,
get your needs met, right? Like you can pay your mortgage,
oh,
you
of
get your
course.
things, but the
Of
Euro
course.
trip can wait for a little bit, and then you can have plenty Euro trips.
Exactly. Who knows, you know?
Yeah.
So in this creative process, if we go back to the creative process,
Mhm.
have you ever experienced creative blocks?
Yes, definitely. Not only creative blocks, but sometimes I feel that I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah,
And
frustration.
yeah, it usually is a burst of frustration, and it comes fast and it goes fast, which is good. But let's say if I have a project that I do need to work on and I'm blocked, that means that I either need a rest, like
Mm-hmm.
meaning going to bed and sleep, because
Mm-hmm.
sleep deprived, you can't do anything good.
Mm-hmm.
And or it means that I need to give, like have a break and focus on something else, which will spark the creativity to accomplish whatever I'm trying to do.
Completely agree. Completely
and,
agree.
and
Most of
exposing yourself also, I expose myself to a lot of content. So what I do is, the more I expose myself to what other people are creating, the more tools or weapons I get to create cool stuff. So
yes.
I may like someone's style for painting, and someone else has a great style for making lines, and someone else has a great style for mixing colors, or someone else is great for adding electronics in their projects. I don't know. At the end of the day, I do a Frankenstein of all of them. I copy like an artist, and I come up with my own version of, anything that you can come up with.
At the end, Mario, I think that, I mean, this is an unpopular opinion, but I think everything has been invented already. You know, it's just, or if you do invent it, there's going to come somebody with more money in the bag and is going to make it better. So why get yourself crazy on being, creating this unique thing if it's not going to be, I don't know, it's not going to be that unique at the end. Somebody's going to come up and redo it better than you. So,
I think that
because I
the
think
first
I
thing is,
think
like, you should ask yourself, why am I creating? Like, why am I trying to accomplish? What's the reason? What's my motivation? Why am I creating? Do I want to impress people? Do I
yeah,
I want to impress myself? Do
yeah,
I truly enjoy art in all its shapes and forms? Am I trying to solve a problem? Am I trying to make my life easier?
a
Am I
hundred
trying to
percent.
make someone else's life easier? There's so many questions you should ask before you start creating something, and kind of like try to find the truth.
Yeah,
Not creating for the purpose of creating, or for the purpose of impressing someone. I think
or
that's
showing
really
up.
important.
Yeah,
Or
like
yeah,
yeah.
100%. Wait, for example, like, I'm not great at communicating everything that I'm creating, because as soon as you put a camera, I think that everything changes. I
Mm-hmm.
think that as soon as you put a camera in front of you, there is something that gets lost in that creative process. It's not
Mm-hmm.
as pure as it was, or as it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, I'm planning to shoot this. I'm planning
Yeah,
to
yeah.
put it in the video, so it's not happening as it came to my mind.
It's
Does that
another
make
type
sense?
of creation. Creating
Yeah.
videos is another type of creation, even if it's
Yes.
creating process videos. And some people don't know that very well. Creating process videos is not the actual creative process.
100%.
It's a completely different creative thing. I enjoy creating process videos, but I already create it when I do, you know what I mean? because
Right.
yeah, it changes everything when you have to think how you're going to present it.
100%. If anything, I believe that when I'm creating something, I'm taking pictures, and I'm taking pictures because I know that maybe later I can grab these pictures, put them in CapCut or any other editing software, and then just voice over like I came with this idea because I had this problem, and then I did this, and then I did that. But like, I don't think that I want to be creating as I'm narrating things because then I'm not focused on what I'm doing, and the
Yeah.
creative juices are not flowing as they should.
No, it doesn't work the same way. Another way that I do is like I will have it the phone recording, and I will do my thing, and then I will go back and edit it, and create the
Hmm.
video. But I'm not thinking about how am I going to present it at the moment that I'm creating, because it doesn't work the same way. You're
And I
right.
believe that for us bilingual people, where English is not your first language, it's extra difficult
Oh
because
yeah.
you cannot express yourself as freely as you would do it in Spanish in our case,
Yeah.
in English. And it's really hard when you need to find your voice. I thought for the longest time, maybe I should start a YouTube channel. I have a beautiful creative lab. If you haven't checked it out,
Yes.
go to like emecreativelab.com, or like Mario, like
I'm going to add
slash
it on the
EME lab.
description. I'm going to
Yeah,
put it on the description.
that could totally be a YouTube like background
Yes.
set,
Yes,
but
Mario.
like I still ask myself, should I do it in English? Should I do it in Spanish? Should I do it at all? Like,
Do it
eh,
in both, in whatever you
yeah,
wake up that day, you
I
know?
know, I know, right?
Like, or just mix it. People hate it when you do mix in the languages, but is however the juice is coming out. I've gotten to a point right now where I'm embracing whatever comes out. I have seasons where I will speak Spanish for like 3 months, and then I will go back to English, and I'm like, whatever it is the season that I'm in, that's the language you're gonna get. And if you need translation, well, just use your captions, because that's how it's coming out. You
That's great. I
can't.
think that with AI, I think that if anything, that's gonna help us out. One interesting thing that just came to my mind, for example, the Netflix show Bake It Impossible was shot in English, and it
Mhm,
was funny because I speak Spanish as a
mhm.
native language, and seeing myself speaking Spanish with a voice that it wasn't mine in the Latin American region because they dubbed my voice with who knows whom, and
they
like
didn't even they
dub,
didn't even ask you to try to
yeah.
do your own
Like,
voice, no?
yeah, no, not at all. And it's funny because, like, like that voices usually are recycled, meaning it's the
Yeah.
same guy doing like,
Uh-huh.
if you're like a male between 30 and 40, you're gonna get like Jose that's all dubbing for Scrooge the Duck to I don't know, like the Transformers, like everyone, so
And
you're
it's like
always
a
gonna hear
it's
the
like
same
a
voice.
it's like European Spanish, but it's not even, you can't even say if it's the España. Where is it? It's like an accent. Is that European accent that I don't think exists anywhere, the one that Hagai uses.
Yes, 100%. It's just
It's
weird.
weird.
Yes,
So
it's
I
funny.
I can imagine your friends over there in your country saying, wait a minute, is that you talking? What is that? Did they make fun of you when they heard your voice in Spanish?
Yeah, they were like, that was weird. That's not your voice. Why didn't you use your voice? And I'm like, yeah, I have no idea. But like, yeah, it was shot in English, and then they just dubbed the voice. It's just funny, you know?
That
Yeah.
must be really funny.
It is. It is. I mean, of course, it's interesting because, like for those who speak only one language, um, when you're bilingual, it's almost like you're two different people.
Yeah.
In your native language, you have a different personality than in
Yeah.
English. You flow in a different way. We tend to feel
Yeah.
in our native language. In my case, I feel in Spanish. I
Yeah.
connect with people in Spanish. I express feelings more accurately in Spanish,
Yeah.
and I get impressed and wowed and marveled by things that are in Spanish or that
Yeah.
I tend to translate, emotionally speaking, to
Yeah.
Spanish.
Yeah.
But everything else, like, yeah, I think in English, I speak in English, I consume English media. But it's very interesting. And when I create, ideas come in English or in Spanish. That
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm
They
prone
come
to
with
say
their
that probably they
language.
come in, yeah, any
Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah, so it happens the same to me. I my emotions are in Spanish completely. So like that I've been exploring that route of
Hmm.
writing, and I start doing both, and I'm like, I just can't feel it in English. It just cannot feel it. So I have to write in Spanish. And it's not
Right.
that I know better or less, it's that my emotions come better, come out better in
Also, we
Spanish.
have more words. That's another thing
Yes,
too. I think
that
that we
too.
have
Yeah,
more
that too.
words to express feelings in Spanish than
Yeah,
in
it's
English, for
more
sure.
it's more rich, a lot
Yeah.
more richer.
Hmm.
And have you noticed, Mario, if you have like I didn't notice until my friends start telling me that I have a different tone of voice
Yes,
on
happens to me as well.
Spanish and English. It's like
Yes.
like you say, it's just a completely different person.
Yeah, it's a different person.
I'm
It's
more
funny because when I take
spicy in
friends,
Spanish.
when I take friends to Peru, they get to see a different Mario, and sometimes they get,
Yeah.
like the, who are you? And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, I'm different, you know?
And then I love all kind of music, and I love, music in English, but in Spanish you feel it. I mean, I feel it in my bones. It's just different. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. What is and well, I know that you're the one that is doing the questioning here, but
No,
if
it's
you could
okay.
work, if you could work with me in a project,
Uh-huh.
what would you like to work on?
Oh, something. I think it would be so rich if we could work on something multidimensional, like you say.
Hmm.
Something that has more than one medium. Something that has beauty, but it also works for something. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
Mechanically
Yes.
works and solves the problem. Because I could see all the layers of our minds working at the same time.
Something functional but aesthetic.
Aesthetic, yeah, something that looks pretty, but
Hmm.
that functions, but that inside it has bones, it has mechanic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So that
100%.
that that will be something that I'll be like, I would love to see how your brain or your mind works compared to mine on something like that. I know we'll
Hmm.
clash a lot.
Probably. I mean, do you think that we all creative people have like an alpha type of personality or like a special personality?
I think that we do inside of us. Not all of us express it,
Hmm.
but we do. I think we're very protective of our ideas.
Hmm.
So even if I don't say it to you, if we're working together with something and you're trying to get away from my idea because you have a different idea, I will get protective of it,
Hmm.
even if
That
I
makes sense.
don't voice it out. Don't you think? Have you
Yeah.
ever worked with anybody else on a project
Well, I mean,
other
at the
than the
show,
other
at
than the
Netflix
show?
show, that yeah. Besides that, I mean, I'm constantly working with different companies on their ideas. So
Okay.
I think that I've been always good for criticizing people's work in a
Mm-hmm.
good way,
Mm-hmm.
in a creative and positive way.
You do a
Um,
great job there.
and I believe that every time that I have a client coming at me with a prototype, instead of saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna print it for you or 3D design it, cool, that's great, whatever," I always ask them like, why did you do it like this? Why
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't you add this part or this piece, or what were you thinking about that? And I've provided with like aha moments to many of my clients that they say like, "Oh my God, that's genius." Not saying by any means that I'm genius at all. They were really simple things, so it's, if anything, it's an exaggeration from their part, but they consider it genius, which I appreciate. They were simple solutions to simple problems. They were just not looking at them because they spend too much time with their own
Mm-hmm.
project. And
Yeah.
sometimes you need to kind of step back, look at your own creation, at your own baby, from a bird's eye views type, like point of view, and
Which is
and look
mostly
at it in a different way.
impossible. Which is
It's
mostly
hard
impossible.
to look at your own things, like, with a critical, bold approach is difficult.
It's very difficult. Now,
You're emotionally attached to them.
how would you feel if you were the one that it's somebody else giving you those inputs? How do you
Or
feel when you're in that position?
if you make my project better, I will be grateful. I will feel great.
Yeah, but that's when you already know that it's making it better. But at the beginning, when people are telling you, you should do this different, you should do this, doesn't feel, you do feel protective of your idea, don't you?
Yes. So yes and no. I will defend the why I decided to come up with like a particular solution to a problem, and I would question a lot to the people that are giving me input. But if they're if what they are like telling me makes sense to me, if it speaks to me, I love to be proven wrong in a few words.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Okay.
stubborn. I'm really
Mm-hmm.
stubborn, but I really love when someone proves me wrong and I'm like, wow, I didn't see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
In any uh
Aspect.
aspect in life. It can be professional work, it can be creative work, it can be personal life. Every time that someone gives me an aha moment, I'm very grateful.
Okay. Okay. I am too, but inside I do have like I get hurt. Okay, so I think we need to start wrapping this up,
Hmm.
but I really really enjoyed this conversation. So we have to do this again on another topic or maybe the same topic, doesn't matter. So at the end of each episode, I like to offer like a little bit of a muse message, which should be like a little advice to offer to creatives. Would you like to do that?
Sure,
Just
100%.
okay, go ahead.
To all my creative friends, just make stuff. It's very simple. It doesn't matter if you think it may or may not make sense to people. For as long as you feel happy with what you're doing, do it. If you're not happy, but you're getting a lot of attention, I mean, use it as a tool, but don't divert from your true purpose. I think that you should have a very clear sense of what's your reason to be here. We are all here on Earth to play a role, to do something. Mine is to communicate through creativity and to make kids happy and guys happy with my magic shows and like laughs and amuse and awe and just sharing that if you put your mind into something, you can make it happen.
I love it. I love that, Mario. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting
Um,
me. This was special.
I really hope we can repeat this. And I'm going to leave all your socials. I'm going to put it on the description for people to go check you out. And I will see you on a next opportunity because you're coming back, right?
I
It
will.
wasn't that bad.
No, it was great. This was really fun.
Thank you, Mario. This episode reminds me that creativity isn't one straight line. It's a storm and a stillness, a blueprint and a breath. And the process, that winding, wonderful process, that is the masterpiece. Until next time, friends, stay soft, stay wild,